Welcome to the Eastern Echo Sports Podcast. I am Eugene Evans, along with Andrew Masharka.
Good to be here.
And Al Willman.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
On today's podcast, we will focus on the homecoming game between Ball State and Eastern Michigan University, that 51-20 disaster of a game. We'll talk about it in great detail today, along with scores from Andrew Masharka in the week ahead in EMU Sports. All today on the Eastern Echo Sports Podcast.
So stay tuned.
The weekend review in EMU athletics. EMU soccer won 5-1 over Stetson. Also, they won on Sunday 4-0 over Indiana State in the ovarian cancer awareness game. In volleyball, EMU won in 3 sets against Indiana, Purdue, University, Fort Wayne. They also lost in 3 sets in East Lansing to Michigan State. Also in that same invitational, they swept Cincinnati in 3 sets and then won in 4 sets over Duquesne. In cross country for the women, Victoria Veronica came in first at the meet at Western, which actually was held in Three Rivers, Michigan. And in women's tennis, to wrap it all up, Nino Mabuke and Clara Sepayova won the doubles title at the Gopher Invitational. Oh, and who could forget, to wrap this whole entire part of the segment up, EMU football lost 51-20 to Ball State. And that's your week in Eastern athletics. Eastern Michigan University Eagles sure showed up on homecoming this past Saturday as they lost 51-20 to the Ball State Cardinals, which, by the way, were fresh off a loss to North Texas the previous week. What are your instant thoughts about that, Al? Like, what do you take away from this loss?
Well, I mean, the loss. I honestly thought for a while going into the game that Eastern had a fighting chance, given getting all the bugs out with the bigger games like we talked about before, time and again. That Eastern might actually have the edge and take a field goal win and just go. But after that first drive, just the comedy of errors on special teams all over again. I just didn't know what to think. That first drive leading up to the touchdown was great. Ben's just surgical precision. Going downfield effectively. The running game, for the most part at the time, was working. And just things were clicking. It seemed like.
Yeah, and mixing up some of the plays too.
Yes, exactly. They think that they got the run figured out. Fine, go downfield,
yep. And
it worked.
Yep.
And then once the kick got blocked, it just was all downhill from there. On the flip side of that, Ball State was just putting on a clinic in that first half, the first quarter especially.
Yeah. 27 straight points.
27 straight points to score on every drive that they had the ball for. And a stat that I saw on Twitter after the game from broadcaster Matt Shepard, on all those scoring drives, not a single one was above 2.5 minutes, I think it was.
2 minutes and 28 seconds, I believe.
Something like that. Yes. So just surgically, just get the ball, couple 3 plays, it's in the end zone. Just you can't beat that. And the way they were playing the ball, they're playing too soft on the receivers, letting them get too far downfield, and then on one of the first touchdown, it seemed like the defender slowed down on his path to the ball. You can't do that and expect to make a play.
Yeah, you can't.
There's no way.
And it's almost like starting 4 steps behind and thinking you're going to catch up to somebody who's already got like a full pace of speed on them. So it's like, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
And then to make matters worse, also field position killed Eastern all day long. And given the fact that 2 fumbles in the first half by Darius Jackson, who, by the way, started over Bronson Hill because of a coach's decision made earlier in the week. We don't know specific details as to why, but I'd say personally, if it wasn't anything to the point in which it ticked off the staff and the players themselves, starting, you have nothing to lose in this situation. Arguably, English's job is on the line now, game in and game out. You're not in a position in which you can sit around and bench your best possible player. And you agree with me on that?
I do. And I think, to play devil's advocate for a second here, maybe you take a chance, take a leap on a guy who this season has been okay. I mean, he's shown upside. You can see him break open and get downfield for a big game. But I think now it's better than being conservative, I guess, and just going with what might not work. You take a leap on a guy who, if it pans out, great. If it doesn't, he's a freshman. He'll be there for a while. So I think, though, Bronson Hill, despite the fact that he was benched in the first half, for the majority of the first half, and got hurt in that first half, had a great game. And that's one of the very, 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 very few positive things I will take out of this game right now is the performance of Bronson Hill.
Yeah, it was a testament to otherwise a very, very horrible day at Ryerson Stadium. Now, obviously he went over 100 yards rushing for the second time this season. But also, he had a season high of 126 yards on 21 carries. No touchdowns, but still, if you really think about how he got those yards, especially garbage time, okay, it doesn't matter, but it's a testament to the fact that he did not give up on that game.
Mm-hmm. He went in there and he, with initially limited opportunities, but then he got 21 carries, throughout the game.
Yeah.
You take advantage of what you get put in front of you. And
Yeah.
Bronson Hill did that.
I also noticing from watching the game in the press box, some of the runs that looked like they were potential -4 or 5 yard runs, he turned those into like 2 or 3 yard gains.
Mm-hmm.
That's also another great thing that I noticed in that game on Saturday. It's the ability to almost improv. It's almost like the running back version of Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, you don't have to. A lot of people maybe don't understand this. Is that you don't have to get a first down every time the running back gets the ball. Get up, make a positive gain. Where like you said, a few of those plays, the way they looked from my perspective too, in the stands, was that okay? These things are going to go, -2, -3s, whatever, because they're getting penetration on the offensive line. But he gets around him and moves up 3 or 4 yards. I mean, that guy, he's the real deal.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And Tyler Benz had a average game for the most part, but the wheels just came unglued in the fourth quarter when he threw 2 interceptions. And he started forcing balls into triple coverage. It's almost like he went into flat panic mode.
I agree. That's what it looked like to me, too, from what I was seeing. It looked like he's trying to force throws and make a big play where there might not be one developing. Not taking a look at potentially open check down where, or run the ball or throw it away. He's just throwing it in the coverage, and it's a bad mental mistake.
Man, it was. But I do think there's one remedy to this, and I think this is probably their only option at this point, given that the pressure's on Ron English. It's now or never, is to mix things up on offense. It's clearly not working in the first 4 games of the season, so why not throw Brogan Rollback in with a special package, 5 to 10 plays, however many plays they decide on doing it. Like, throw in a special package, like try and mix things up, confuse the defense, because at this point, just having Tyler Benz out there, he can throw 200 yards in any given game passing. Like, he's not going to make mistakes. He's a game manager. But he's capped to what he can do at this point. So mixing it up can confuse things and could give Eastern a better chance of winning some of these games too.
Mm-hmm. And that whole premise isn't going to work if the offensive line doesn't protect the quarterback.
Speaking of the offensive line, let me get into this. 2 injuries of note in that game. Lincoln Hansen was out with what was an apparent leg injury. I don't know the extent of it.
It looked like they didn't say much. But yeah, that hurts. He's a playmaker on the offensive line.
And to make matters worse, their backup, the one that came in replacing Hansen, Campbell Allison, also left. He appeared to walk on his own power, but he left and did not come back in the game after. So their depth just got worse as the game went on. And the problem is, for the most part this year, the offensive line's been shaky, so it doesn't help when you have injuries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for guys who are, for a junior like Hansen, for a guy that's been there and is a veteran on that offensive line, to lose him is a huge blow to that team. Hopefully it's not for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah.
Otherwise we might see some more issues in the protection department.
Yeah. Well, what will aid them is that they have the extra week to prepare for Buffalo.
Yes.
The bye week is coming, so there's no worry about them winning or losing everybody. So
everybody gets a chance to heal up and recover and watch a lot of tape. So we'll see what happens there. But that bye week, hopefully something's got to give after that bye week, though.
Yeah, but another thing I took away from that game, the conservative play calling it's becoming mind-boggling because it's almost like the same old crap every single week. And an example of that was 34-13. Eastern's down 3 touchdowns to Ball State. It's 59 seconds left in the second quarter. The half is about to end. Generally, you would think in a situation like that, okay, they're going to try, no matter where the field position is, try and move the ball down the field, try and get something out of it.
Yeah, especially the deficit.
Yeah, especially 3 touchdown deficit. Everything's on the line with English and his job status. Why not go for it all?
Well, even take the job status out of the equation for a minute.
Yeah.
You're down 3 scores at near the half. If you can even get 1 touchdown on the board, you're going down 2 in the second half. It's anybody's ballgame at that point.
Right, you're riding momentum too in that situation.
Yep. If you can score before the end of the half, you're going into the half. Yes, you're still down, but you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
So you can come out and you can add to that. Maybe your defense makes a big stop. It's a 1 touchdown game. So on the other hand, they run the ball. They kind of take a knee standing up, as it were.
Yeah, 2 glorified handoffs, which they basically were knee downs.
Yeah. It took, I think, whatever my little wind was left in the sails at that point was gone after those 2 plays.
Just flat. There was no chance at that point.
Yep.
So, and to close things out in that game, in the fourth quarter, 8 seconds left in the game, ironically, Brogan Roback shows up. They bring him in for 1 play, and it was a toss to Darius Jackson.
Yep. And it's just again, you have your big playmaker in there who is even, starting to get some fan recognition. And, what do? You put them in for 1 play and you hand off the ball. You don't, try to throw it downfield for a Hail Mary or something just to show what the kid can do. You just, here you go, hand it off and end it, get it over with.
There's no doubt, and this is just my opinion, they should have brought him in much earlier in the fourth quarter, given the fact the game was way out of hand. Keeping Benz in the game risked injury, for one thing. There was no point of keeping him in the game. It was not as if he had the worst game in the world. I'm not saying he should lose his job by no stretch of the imagination, but give Roback some reps, give him some opportunities here.
Mm-hmm.
But
he saw limited action against Penn State, and it's in a big game. Bring him in, against your own conference. Show him what the conference is like. Don't just let him, hold a clipboard and watch that way.
Right.
The best way you learn is by doing. Get him out there, get him experience.
Exactly. And then one more thing we'll touch on from this game was the receivers. Dustin Creel, for a change, actual wide receiver, led all Eagles players in receptions. He had 5 receptions and 60 yards and a touchdown. So it's better than nothing. But the problem again was that if you really look at the game as a whole, him or any of the other receivers did not make a real impact on the game. That was the biggest problem again. There was nobody that was able to take over in certain parts of the game. So
if you look behind him too, again, a minor, a gallows humor kind of bright side was that Demarius Reed was right behind him with 3 passes for 55 yards. So they're getting downfield. You can see it on out there. They're taking more shots downfield, and it's showing because receivers are coming down with catches.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. You have to chip away more, and just get your receivers involved in the game. Tyrese Russell had a decent game too. 4 receptions, 45 yards. He's been pretty consistent this year in terms of catching the ball and holding on to it. So just somebody's got to break out, like you're saying, and nobody's broken out yet. They're having good games here and there, but nobody's breaking out and having a season.
Indeed, and time is running out on it. If you can't get it straight now, then the rest of the season is going to be a cluster bang. It's going to be just a big cluster of just problems all over the place. It's just not going to be fixed, and the end will be near. But also another thing. Tight end DeJuan Alford dropped a couple of easy catches.
Including a touchdown. Yeah,
including a potential touchdown. So, again, those kind of games, especially that was in the first half when the game was still manageable, those plays right there could have swung the momentum of the game.
Yeah. Mental mistakes and turnovers, that will kill you every time.
Yeah. So, like I said, we'll see what happens going into the bye week. Let's see what adjustments they can make. Hopefully we'll see it in 2 weeks at Buffalo. And then the week after at Army. So basically a 2-game New York swing.
Yep, and that's key. You have to win games on the road. So
yeah, and that's the problem in the English area. He has yet to show us that he can win the live road games.
Yep, so it's just a matter of there's still a lot of work that has to be done yet before I'll say one way or the other what's going to happen at this point. I kind of had relative confidence going into the conference season what was going to happen, but now it's all thrown out the window, and it's just kind of watch and see what happens at this point.
Yeah. Here's what happened across the Mid-American Conference this past week in football. The Vanderbilt Commodores defeated the Massachusetts Minutemen 24-7. The Toledo Rockets defeated the Central Michigan Chippewas 38-17 in both of their both of their openers in the MAC. Western Michigan Broncos got blown out by Iowa 58-3. Austin Peay Governors were shut out by the Ohio Bobcats 38-0. Bowling Green Falcons blew out the Murray State Racers 48-7. The Penn State Nittany Lions, after a loss last week to Central Florida, bounced back and defeated the Kent State Golden Flashes 34-0. The Cincinnati Bearcats scored 2 late touchdowns in the fourth quarter to defeat the Miami of Ohio Bobcats 14-0. The Akron Zips, after their close call with the Michigan Wolverines last week, dropped one to Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns 35-30. And a close one, the Northern Illinois Huskies barely hung on to defeat the Eastern Illinois Panthers 43-39. And that's your wrap-up this week on the Mid-American Conference.
And here's what's on tap for Eastern sports for this week. Starting today, Monday the 23rd, men's golf is at the Fighting Irish Golf Classic in South Bend all day. And that continues on through tomorrow. Wednesday and Thursday, there are no events scheduled. Friday the 26th, women's soccer is taking on Northern Illinois University at 5 o'clock at home. Women's volleyball is at home against Ball State at 7. Women's golf travels to Penn State in the Nittany Lion Invitational all day. And women's tennis will be at the Indiana Invitational all day. On Saturday, there are only 3 events scheduled. Women's volleyball at home against Toledo at 7 p.m. Women's golf will be again at the Nittany Lion Invitational all day. And again, the women's tennis team will be at the Indiana Invitational and the ITA All-American Pre-Qualifier. On Sunday, we wrap up the week with women's soccer at home against Toledo at 1 p.m. Women's tennis, again at the Indiana Invitational and the ITA Pre-Qualifier, as well as women's golf at the Nittany Lion. And men's golf will be at the Jack Nicklaus Invitational all day. That is the week on tap for sports. We want to hear from you, the listeners. Send us an email to echosportspodcast@gmail.com for feedback, comments, or something you want to hear us talk about on the podcast.
Follow Eugene Evans on Twitter at Eastern Echo Gino. That is at Eastern Echo Gino.
Follow Al Willman on Twitter at Al Willman Echo.
And you can follow me, Andrew Sharka, at Amos Sharka.
And that's all for this week's podcast. Come back next week where hopefully we're working on it now. We're trying to get Jeremy Rosenberg from the Eagle Tone to come on for next week's podcast. So I expect to see you guys next week. So have fun studying and don't fail no exams.